Hi everyone, today we're going to be doing a review on the Jaclyn Hill palette in collaboration with Morphe. We're going to talk about how it compares to another Morphe palette that I own. We're going to talk about the different shades. I am going to do swatches. This video is going to be lengthy, so what I'm going to do is put timestamps in the description so that you can jump to which part you'd be interested in. The way that I do reviews, I don't really like doing first impression reviews just because there's so many out there already, and first impressions can be fun, but I find that they're not always the most helpful when I want to go purchase a product. So what I like to do is get the item, use it for an extended period of time, and really get my thoughts and feelings on the product to see if it's something I might repurchase again, or also I like to use the product in different ways, combine it with different products to see what works best and what doesn't, just so I can really give you guys an informed review that's more helpful when you go, to spend your hard-earned money. I'm also going to go over the price per gram with this palette compared to some of their other palettes and compared to other palettes on the market, from more expensive brands to less expensive brands, so we can see what the value is there. I know a lot of people like to use price per shadow, but honestly I think it's more important to look at the total weight of the product. That way you really know what you're getting, because there are certain eyeshadow products in the market, like Natasha Denona, who has eyeshadow palettes that are $239. When you actually look at how many grams of product you get in those palettes, you're actually not spending all that much money. I mean, it's still pricey, but their eyeshadows cost a little less than Urban Decay shadows if you look at it from a cost per gram perspective. I was really inspired to do cost per gram perspective by Stephanie Nicole, and I'll link her video down below about Morphe. She's very thorough in her reviews, and I really love that she took the time out to start doing price per gram, because before that I think most people just look at the cost of an item and think, why is it that expensive? It doesn't make sense, like I said with Natasha Denona as an example. But when you actually break it down cost per gram, you really get an idea of why things cost the way that they do, and it's actually been very helpful now when I shop. Now I know what I can spend my money towards and actually be worth that investment. Okay, so let's talk about the price per gram of these eyeshadows. I do have my notes here with me, so if you see me looking down at my phone, that's what I'm doing. Because I looked up a lot of brands because I wanted to have a wide scope of different brands so that we could get a better idea. So the Jaclyn Hill palette is $38 and you get 56.2 grams, which means that you're paying 68 cents per gram, which is insane price. The other Morphe palette that I own is the 35W palette. That is $23. It's the same grams, so 56.2, and it's 41 cents per gram, which is crazy. If you look at the Milani Everyday Eyes Matte eyeshadow palette, that's $10.99, which comes, and it's 5.9 grams, which comes to $1.86 per gram. I'm not going to go through all of these because I did an extensive research, so what I'm going to do is include the bulk of these in the description bar below. That way you can sit and read them at your leisure, because just watching me do it is probably not that interesting. But compared to, let's see, Viseart, a typical Viseart eyeshadow palette is $80, 23.8 grams, which comes to $3.36 per gram. So you can see, I mean, the least expensive product I could find was the Coastal Scents. So if you buy the Coastal Scents 88 Warm palette, that's typically $20.95. You get 63 grams, making them 33 cents per gram. One thing I definitely want to discuss is Morphe quality between the two palettes that I currently own. So the first Morphe palette that I ever purchased was the 35W palette. And I'll open it for you and see if you can see the shades there. I have to say I was not a fan of this palette. And the one shade, I'm sure you already saw, the black shade came broken. I don't think that was the fault of Morphe, because I literally saw the delivery guy throwing the box over the gate of the place where I used to live. So I don't think that broken shadow is Morphe's fault, even though I do know that in some of their more recent palettes people have received broken black eyeshadows. But I'm not a fan of this palette. I'm just not. The shades, like when you touch them, they feel really rough and dry. You may have one or two that feel somewhat creamy, but they kind of start to crumble. When you blend them, they just kind of all blend together and disappear into nothing on me, just personally. Also, not that this is the fault of Morphe, but the lightest shade in here is basically my skin tone, so there wasn't really much I could use to highlight with. I have used this. I mean, you know, before I bought some of my more higher end eyeshadow palettes, I used to use this, but once I bought my higher end eyeshadow palettes, I stopped using this. It's just, compared to the Too Faced eyeshadow palettes that I own, this is just not great. So then I heard about the Jaclyn Hill palette and I saw it, and I've really been wanting to get an eyeshadow palette with these beautiful reds, rusty colors, because I don't really own anything like that. All of the eyeshadow palettes I own are for the most part are very cool toned, because, you know, I'm very cool complected, and I thought, oh, I'm just gonna get cool eyeshadows, but then I got bored with that pretty quickly. And I was looking at the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette and the Tartelette, I believe it's the Toasted palette. And I just thought, wow, I mean, I don't really want to spend $54 on an eyeshadow palette. That's, you know, that's a lot. And the only shades you're getting with that palette are, you know, the warm red shades. And then I saw this. Woo! I saw this online and I thought, you know what, not only does it have the rusty colors, the reds, the warm browns, it also has some cool tones in here. You also have these really fun greens and purple and blue. I just thought, you know what, I think that's the way I want to go. And I saw it, but I had used Morphe before and wasn't a fan, and I thought, oh gee, I really don't want to invest money if it's going to be an issue. But then I saw Jaclyn Hill's video about the palette, and she said that each shadow was pressed in a unique way, that the formulas were more buttery, that the pigmentation was much better, and I had seen critics of Jaclyn Hill's do reviews on this palette, and the shades looked pigmented to me. And even they said that the quality was better. And I thought, you know what, it's $38. It's less than $1 per gram for these shadows. What do I have to lose? I'll just get it and try it. I have to say, I am so impressed with this palette, you guys. And I mean, you can tell I've been using it. It's filthy now at this point. I'm so happy I bought this palette. I have been working with it for over a week now. I'm going to insert footage. I did test this on 2 different days on camera. One day I tested it with my usual Urban Decay Naked Skin Concealer, Kat Von D loose powder on top. That's what, I don't use eyeshadow primers. I don't see the point. Concealer and powder does it just fine for me. So I did that, and then on the second day I tested it with nothing, just my bare eyelid. And regardless, it stayed put all day, both days. I will say I do think they blend slightly better over top of the concealer powder combo. It just blends more easily and doesn't tend to just want to stay put in one spot. It just blends more effortlessly that way for me. But I have found these shadows to be super pigmented. I only need to put my brush in, maybe tap it 2 times and put it directly on the lid, and they blend beautifully. I will say these more metallic shades go on much better for me personally with my fingertips. I tried with a dense packing brush, I tried wet, they just didn't go on as well. The finger definitely is the best way to go with those in my opinion. Now I will be inserting swatches of me wearing them on day 1. As you can see, it went on very pigmented, very smooth, and it pops really well with my blue eyes and super pale skin. On day 1, I wore these shadows with my Urban Decay Naked Skin Concealer and my Kat Von D Lock It Loose powder on top. Okay guys, so my makeup is now on. Oh my gosh, you guys. I'm in love with this so far. For day 2, I decided to wear these shadows without concealer and powder just to see how they performed. They lasted on my eyes all day as well. I will say that they do blend a little bit easier on top of powder instead of just bare skin, but either way, these powders were fairly easy to work with and I enjoyed working with them. I did look up the formulas for both of these palettes and they are drastically different, which I was so pleasantly surprised by. If you want a similar eyeshadow palette to the Jaclyn Hill palette in terms of ingredients but don't want to spend the $38, you can either get the Bronzed Mocha or the Copper Spice palette. They're smaller palettes and they are $18 a piece. I'm not a fan of this. I'm not a fan of their original formula shadows. I haven't tried any of the smaller palettes that have similar ingredients to the Jaclyn Hill palette. Perhaps I would like those, but the ones that are made with this ingredient deck, I'm not interested in whatsoever. I am going to put the ingredient lists for both of these palettes down below so you can see how different they are. One topic I did want to bring up as well is that unfortunately this palette doesn't list where it was manufactured, but if you Google on the internet, it comes up that this was made in China. And on the back of the cardboard packaging that the palette comes in, it does say on the back, made in China. I did want to bring that up because I know that some people have concerns about purchasing products that are made in China. Unfortunately, I don't know enough about manufacturing in China. I don't know which factory Morphe uses. So as far as the safety goes, I can't really speak to that, but I just wanted to let you know that if that is a concern for you, they do make their palettes in China. However, the company is cruelty-free. You can have products manufactured in China and not do animal testing as long as you are not selling in physical stores in mainland China. If you do sell your products online to mainland China, you don't have to test on animals. It's only if you have your products in a physical store. I do know that that is important to people. They are cruelty-free. They're not completely vegan. Some of their eyeshadow brushes do contain animal hair, and I don't know if there are any animal ingredients in their eyeshadows. So I'm not sure if the eyeshadow palette is vegan or not. There is nothing on the packaging that says that it is. Now, I do want to discuss 2 issues that I have with this palette. Companies like Morphe like to send PR packages to beauty influencers, YouTubers, things of that nature so that they can have the product before it launches so they can really use it, play with it, create reviews on it, so by the time it launches you've already seen them and you know, hey, I do or don't want to buy this product. I think that's awesome. I think that's great. It's very helpful. It's very informative. But there's something that really bothers me about this particular PR launch, and that is they included the shadow names in the PR package, but they didn't include the shadow names for the people that are actually purchasing the product, the consumer. I think if you're going to create a product for the consumer, it should be the best version of that product because the consumer is the person who's actually paying for it. I watched Jaclyn Hill's video, which I will link down below so you can hear more about all the work that went into making these eyeshadows. One of the things that she talks about is how much time and effort went into naming each individual shadow and that it has a very personal meaning for her. And I think that's awesome. But if you spent that much time working on that, why wouldn't you include the names? There's no names listed on the palette. There's no names listed on the back of the palette. There's no names listed on the cardboard packaging that it comes in, and there was nothing on the inside with the names. And that just bothers me. Why would you send the best version of your product to the people who didn't even pay for it? If you're going to spend that much time on something, why wouldn't you include the names of the shadows in with the product? Sure, I can Google it and I can find it, but as the consumer, why should I have to do that? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Give the best version of your product to the people who are actually purchasing the product. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I think that's something you should think about. So the second issue that I had is that I placed my order for this palette on October 13th. I didn't get an email until October 18th saying that it had shipped, and it did not arrive at my apartment until October 25th. So that was 12 days. It took almost 2 weeks, which maybe for some people isn't a big deal, but it kind of is for me, especially when I know I can go on Sephora or I can go on ULTA and get packages usually within 3 days. So that's something to think about. I would suggest if you want to get this palette, they now have it at ULTA. I would order it from ULTA if you want to get it in a reasonable time period. Okay, so the shipping was $7.95. I think that is a bit much, especially because it took nearly 2 weeks. And I even paid UPS an additional $3.95. So that was over $11 to get it here in 12 days. I think that's bananas. Okay guys, so thank you so much for watching. If you would like to, please subscribe. I would appreciate it. Also give this video a like, share, all that great stuff. Also, please hit the little bell by the subscribed button so that you can always be updated whenever I upload new stuff for you. And please leave any comments, suggestions of videos.